Welcome to the Pediatric Playbook, where we guide growth in children and balance in ourselves. I'm Amanda, a pediatric occupational therapist, here to share stories, strategies, and insights to support parents, therapists, teachers, and caregivers as we navigate the ever-evolving world of child development together. From tackling potty training and sensory needs to celebrating milestones, this podcast is your go-to resource for practical advice, inspiring stories, and honest conversations. Each week, we'll explore topics that matter to you, whether you're a parent looking for answers or a pediatric OT, SLP, PT, or educator searching for fresh perspectives. I'll also sit down with other therapists and professionals to dive into their unique journeys and the lessons they've learned along the way. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this journey together. Whether you're here for personal growth, professional insights, or a little bit of both, I am so glad you're here. Welcome to the Pediatric Playbook. I'm Amanda, and I'm thrilled to have you here for the very first episode. As a pediatric occupational therapist, I've had the privilege of working with so many amazing children and families over the years, and I have learned just as much from them as they have from me. In this first episode, I just wanted to take some time to really introduce myself and share my whole journey, what brought me into this field, the experiences that have really shaped me, and why I'm so passionate about what I do. Honestly, my goal for this podcast in general is not only to support parents and professionals, but also to create just a really amazing space where we can all grow together, whether you're a parent, a therapist, an educator, or a caregiver of a child. We are all a part of this journey. So let's dive into my journey of becoming an OT. I'm going to be honest, I didn't always know that I wanted to become a pediatric OT, but I did know I had an interest in helping others and the healthcare field in some sort of capacity. And I just loved babysitting for friends and family growing up. I don't know if that was you as well, but I think back on my times babysitting with my cousins. I would love to do it, especially with my friends. It was just so fun. I've always loved working with kids and have also been really into sports and fitness my whole life. And I loved working at our high school field hockey camps and helping coach the younger generations in that over the summers and all of those type of things. And I just knew I wanted to work with children in some capacity, but more, I knew I wanted to be in the healthcare field. But it wasn't until college that I really found my true calling. I started taking a lot of courses in child development and healthcare in general. And I started working as a personal care aide for a man that had post-polio syndrome. And he was amazing. I loved being with him and his wife, and they really coached me on ADLs, which are activities of daily living. And I helped with bathing and morning routines and all of that good stuff. And I saw how impactful these ADLs were and how much independence really matters in our lives, especially when we have some sort of disability or need to rely on others to help us get through our day-to-day tasks. And when I started looking into different professions that I can go into and get a higher education in, I kept coming back to occupational therapy. So I did think at some point during college that I wanted to work with adults, and then started getting really interested in Parkinson's disease, honestly, throughout college and graduate school. Worked a lot volunteering at clinics, helping those with Parkinson's disease. But once I went to my first clinical, it was acute care. I liked it. I wasn't sold on it. And then my second clinical, I was working on a hippotherapy farm. We were doing hippotherapy. We were doing clinic-based OT. And we were also doing some early intervention, which is funny because I feel like that was such a small part of the job that I did back then. And now it's what I do full time. So I don't know, once I took that internship in OT school, I was like, yes, pediatrics is where I want to be. It was so rewarding. I loved working with the kids. And moreover, I just really loved working with the families of all of those individuals. And they were just all so grateful. And it was so fun to connect with them and help them find ways to help their children outside of our therapy sessions as well. But I'm going to be honest, getting to this point in my career was not always easy. Like the long nights studying and cramming for graduate school and undergrad, honestly, trying to understand those really complex conditions. Neuro was incredibly challenging to get through in graduate school, and we spent so many hours in the lab and just really trying to balance out my 20s and everything that was going on in my life in general. There's just so much growth that happens in your 20s between different relationships and friendships and moving states and colleges. And there was so much changing. And I also was trying to focus on starting this career and spending so much time studying and focusing on that. It was really tough, but I am so happy that I stuck it out and made it here, especially studying for boards. I mean, oh my goodness, I spent months and luckily did pass on my first try. I know that is not the path that everyone takes, and I'm just very grateful that I was able to do that and start my job pretty much straight out of OT school. And it was right in the midst of COVID. I started my first job in 2019. And then in obviously spring of 2020, COVID hit and I got furloughed and things were just crazy and no one knew really where the world stood. And I was so new in my profession. I was so nervous. Obviously working in healthcare, there was an extra added anxiety there. But I feel like during that time, I really found early on my voice and advocating for, the salary that I deserved, the hours that I deserved, and leaving a job when it wasn't fulfilling those things that I felt honored myself and my worth. And so that's my biggest piece of advice that I always try to give, not just OTs, but all professionals out there, especially in the healthcare field, is you, as much as it seems like you're replaceable, you're really not. You bring such an invaluable skill set, and your specific knowledge and your personality is needed out there. And so, if you are not being respected in your place of work and people are not honoring your needs and your requests, obviously to an extent, there's only so much we can do. But if it's not what you feel like you deserve, move on and find a new place that is going to value you. But once I got into that first job, like I feel like in grad school, when you're on your clinicals, like, yes, you're doing a lot on your own, but you're also underneath somebody else. But once I started in my first job and started taking these clients one-on-one and was really getting to connect with these families truly, that is when everything really changed for me. Like it wasn't just about the science of therapy anymore. It was about that connection, the impact that you're making, and the true sense of purpose that came with helping these families navigate all of the challenges that they were facing. And like any profession, the journey to becoming an OT obviously had many challenges, and there were moments of doubts, like wondering if I had what it took or if I could make the kind of impact that I wanted to, or that I was seeing other therapists and professionals make. But every challenge also brought with it a lesson. And I'm going to share one of the biggest lessons I've learned is the importance of patience, but not just with the children that I'm working with, but also with myself, and knowing that progress is not always linear. And sometimes it can feel like we're taking two steps forward and one step back. But over time, I've really come to realize that those little victories, those moments where a child masters a skill that they have been working on for months, really make all the struggles worthwhile. And I've also learned how important it is to take care of myself as a professional and give myself patience, because it's very hard to get overwhelmed, especially in the world of social media. You see these other therapists doing all of these amazing sensory bins and crafts and knowing all about reflex integration and feeding. And it's like, whoa, how do they have so much knowledge? But it's so important, especially in our first few years as practitioners, to realize that it takes time to build our knowledge. And most of the really successful business owners and practitioners and anyone in any career, they do not find that success in their first 5 or even 10 years. So don't feel overwhelmed if you are not there yet. Just know that, taking continuing ed courses and following accounts that make you feel empowered and offer lots of fun suggestions and recommendations can be super, super helpful. And that was something that I've had to give myself a lot of grace with. Burnout is so extremely real, especially in the healthcare field. And it can be so easy to get caught up in taking care of all of these other people and patients that we forget to take care of ourselves. We forget to set aside time to exercise and eat healthy meals. I know it's so easy for me sometimes to just stop and grab fast food or get home from work and I'm so hungry because I have not had the time to eat all day that I just grab a bag of chips or some cookies and quickly try to binge eat to fill my calories from the day. But it's so important that we keep ourselves goal oriented and routine based and are reading and doing all of that good self-care stuff and finding balance and boundaries and, just remembering that you cannot pour from an empty cup. I know that sounds cliche, but especially in healthcare, when our goal is to help others regulate, it's almost impossible if you're not regulated and if your cup is empty. All right. So, why start a podcast? I honestly can't believe that this is even happening and that I have officially launched this podcast. Seriously, guys, the only class I almost ever failed in my life was my public speaking class in college. I mean, like full blown shaking, tears, the whole 9 yards. My professor was always like, I'm going to put your papers down because I have had to have it covering my face so I couldn't see the crowd out there behind me. And literally every time I had to go up there and speak, I don't know, it was like something just took over me. I just wish I could go back and tell that version of me where we ended up. Although maybe that's why I'm doing this over a virtual platform and not in front of in-person crowds yet. Just wait. But my why. Over the years, I have had so many parents, colleagues, and fellow therapists come to me and ask me for little tidbits of advice, and not just all about therapy techniques, but about how to balance it all and how to support their child's development while also managing their own stress and self-care. And I realized that the challenges I was seeing weren't unique to my own practice. They were virtually universal. And parents wanted to know how to best support their children through all of the different stages of development. Therapists wanted to stay connected with their purpose and their passion and learn more. And healthcare workers across the board just need a space to talk about their experiences and find some balance in their life. And that's where the Pediatric Playbook comes in. This podcast is a place for all of us to learn together, whether we're talking about sensory processing, potty training, or how to avoid burnout as a healthcare professional. I want this to be a resource for you. My hope is that each episode will leave you with just little new insights and practical tips you can take with you into your home or into your practice. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode and for taking the time to get to know me a little bit better. I am really excited for the episodes we have coming up. We'll be diving into some of the most important topics in the pediatric OT world and child development. And we are going to be having some amazing guests on over the next few weeks. You will not want to miss an episode. I would love for you guys to subscribe if you don't want to miss any future episodes. And if you enjoyed this first episode, please like it and leave a review. It'll really help me grow and reach more individuals like yourself. Guys, I also want to hear from you. What are your biggest challenges you're facing in your journey with your child or in your practice as a therapist or wherever you're at in the world? Reach out to me on Instagram. I am at Your Pediatric OT, and let's keep this conversation going. Thank you again for being here. This is just the very beginning, and I can't wait to dive into this journey with you. See you next time on the Pediatric Playbook. I hope you enjoyed this week's conversation and found it helpful as you navigate along this journey, whether that's supporting kids, growing as a therapist, or both. If you're looking for more resources, tips, or support, be sure to check out my website linked in the show notes and connect with me on social media at Your Pediatric OT on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or wherever else you can find me. You'll find everything from free guides to in-depth courses designed to help you make an even bigger impact.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Pediatric Playbook. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend or colleague who'd love it too. I can't wait to see you next time, same place, same time, right here on the Pediatric Playbook.